Greetings. Welcome back to another and historic episode of Death, Taxes, and Sports, episode 150. Here we are 3 years later, 150 episodes, still going strong. I'm here with several of my esteemed DTS colleagues. We got Marisa, the Queen Tigney, a.k.a. everything that she does, a.k.a. hey, hello, how you doing? And we have Mr. Ben Holloway, my fellow JWU alumnus. It's been so long since I've spoken, so I'm kind of losing my flow there. But y'all, how y'all doing?
Excellent.
It's a great night.
I purposely have this backdrop for, Mr. Hawaii there.
Right? I'm like, yeah, you got something a little different there. You got a little background there.
In case he gets, a little homesick from the sunsets and the sand between his toes, I got you, Ben, right here.
Right? Like,
hey, at least my photo's getting use. It's getting airtime.
Hey, not mad at it. That's the actual photo. Oh, okay. Completely went over my head. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's the actual one of the actual.
Okay. There's been so many, I lost track. But we're really happy that you had good, refreshment and sleep. We're so happy, and we were there for you in spirit, buddy. We were.
Well, hey, recommend Hawaii to everyone. It was amazing. So.
Indeed. But before we get to it, it's 150. It's 150 episodes. 150. I don't think many podcasts can say that they've made it to 150 episodes. Been through a very fun journey. We had the 3 year. Now we had 150. I remember when we did episode 50. Now here we are, 150. We're going to get to 150,050 episodes. But anywho, long way. Just take 2 seconds on just this journey, what it, just reflect and what does 150 means to you?
I'll take the lead there. I just feel like, it's persistence too, because, some, like you said, some probably don't even get to 25, let alone 50, let alone 100. And, ups and downs and learning and having conversations and how can we get better and what can we do? And, just keep at it. I mean, the word that comes to mind for me is persistence and growth for a second word, I would suppose. Just keeping at it. I mean, it's been fun. It's been good. We've had our moments, good moments. We've had our conversations. We've, it's been a lot of fun and we ain't stopping.
You're not. We're not. Very well said. Tigney?
Amen. This has been wonderful in all aspects that you get the men's perspective, but you also get a female's perspective. And I like that this show integrates both voices on all sides of the fence. And to get to 150, like Ben said, there's a lot of shows that have the idea in mind to get started, but the consistency and the perseverance has hindered them from continuing on. So, or that their content, isn't fresh and it isn't, your audience gets bored with it, because there's a lot of podcasts out there from well-known platforms, up and coming platforms like ours. And, we have a good time talking about different variations of sports, and hopefully it brings more people to check out our incredible podcast, because, just hearing from the audience and what to discuss and, their feedback is awesome, so cheers to 150. Here's to 150 more.
Yeah, definitely.
But on a bigger platform for this show, because I believe in it.
Yeah, it's, it's been all very well said, and Tigney, we definitely have enjoyed adding you to, again, adding that, you're not just a young lady, but I think you've become family, even though we have never met in person. I swear we'll do a show in person one of these years. I don't know what happened. It'll happen. But, us being able to have, like, in the group chats and just talking about just like the different element of sports and the different perspectives, and, it's good that I can actually, get along with the Michigan football fan for a change. It's good. There's hope in the world, right? And so I think that what people should be able to, let me stop. But no, it is good. Being it national champs, it's good to have the banter. It's good to have just like the overall, just camaraderie. And Gary and Genner will be on here. Ben, known you for like 14 years at this point, so it's good. It's good. So that's been fun. Okay, let's get to the topic, shall we? That's all that fun.
Let's roll, baby. Let's roll.
NFL free agency. We had an agenda, but there was a couple things that happened here. These New York Giants, but I'm going to wait for Gary to come on because we got to get his viewpoint on this. So we'll just kind of give some high-level thoughts on just overall free agency, some of the recent moves that have happened. The Titans maybe not necessarily looking at going with the number and overall pick, but just, real quick, and we'll try to prolong so we can get Gary, because I want to get Gary's thoughts on these lovely Giants of his, but just y'all's thoughts.
I mean, free agency right now is just under the influence. That's how I can summarize it. Just when everybody is excited and pumped up for Jameis Winston to get another shot at possibly being a starter in the NFL, we get breaking news of a one-year deal for Russell Wilson. So it looks like either they already have QB1 locked up with Wilson, or they're going to battle for whoever's going to be that QB1. But it looks like after the signing that happened just a few hours ago, that it's going to be Russell Wilson. So that was a little bit of a surprise. I know Gary's going to go into and talk about his beloved Giants, if he's still a fan, after that announcement was made. But that was quite a surprise for me. And then, minutes before we even came on, the 3-year deal for Stephon Diggs going to the Patriots. The only question that I have is he's coming off of an injury that derailed him from the full season that he could have had with the Houston Texans. How much of that is going to hinder him from putting his full potential into a young quarterback going into his second year of Drake May? They got a great coach in Mike Vrabel, but I mean, a 3-year deal for somebody who I have questions about how healthy he is, not his ability. Don't get me wrong, not his ability, but just how much does he have? I hate using the terminology left in the tank because, he's in his 30s now. So, but that's the question that I have, is how much of coming off of that injury that he had, is he going to be the Stephon Diggs that was explosive that we saw in Minnesota? That's the question that I have.
I'll tell you what, though.
No, I was just going to say that, I mean, it's so early on that we don't know the details of the contract yet necessarily, but this has a vibe of 1 year, $26 million written all over it. The reason I say that is it's 3 years, $69 million and $26 million guaranteed. So in my mind, this is going to be a 1 year, $26 million thing. Maybe he sticks around, but it has the vibes of Darrelle Revis way back when going to the Bucks, 5 years, $96 million. It's going to be awesome. Cut after 1 year. The total value of the contract doesn't matter. It's the guaranteed money. And I don't think 2 years, 26. I don't think he's at a level where he's going to make $13 million a year, which is why I'm saying 1 year, 26 is kind of where my head's at. And desperate times call for desperate measures. The Patriots need weapons.
Just real quick before we pivot, Damian Lillard has it. You heard this right on DTS. I love giving breaking news.
Breaking news, folks.
Damian Lillard has developed a deep vein thrombosis blood clot in his right calf. He's out indefinitely. Continue on.
That's similar to kind of a little bit of what Wemby is going through right now. I don't know if that's going to be he may be shut down, gentlemen. And if that's the case, that's going to really, really hurt the Bucks' chances in the deep run into the postseason.
Giannis requested trade over the offseason. It's coming.
Giannis to the Lakers. Let's go.
It's coming.
Listen,
they can't get Luka and Giannis. That ain't happening.
Giannis,
they can't get both.
If the Lakers get him, I'm convinced that there's some buffoonery going on, which I'm not going to complain. But there's something going in there. There's some fugazi stuff going on in there. But Yeah,
But
but sorry to
sucks to be livid. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
My complete train of thought completely went off after just seeing that. But
we were talking about NFL. We were talking about Diggs specifically.
Yeah. No, I think Diggs. I mean, good for him for getting his money for one thing. Coming off an ACL injury and getting more financial, financial like just dollars as far as long term. I'm never mad at a player for getting his money. I'm just never going to be mad at that. Owners are going to have billions and billions of dollars and are going to continue to be able to make millions of dollars, and there's going to be more players that are going to come to the league long after Stephon Diggs and many other people are gone.
Exactly.
But I think from a locker room perspective, I think this is a terrible move because I think that you have a quarterback in Sean May or Drake May, not Sean May, the wrong May. Drake May is still young and he's trying to become that guy. And I just think that I just feel he's a toxic figure. I'm just going to say it. I think that the way that he left the Vikings, the way he left Buffalo, I mean, he wasn't too bad with the Texans, but I just don't think he's a good locker room fit for a team that is very young and trying to reinsert itself with the new version of the quote-unquote Patriot way. I don't think he fits the feng shui of that dynamic. And again, he's coming off of an ACL injury and he's on the wrong side of 30. So it's like, how much do you think he's going to be ready? Because I presume he's not going to be in OTAs. He's probably not going to be in training camp too much. And then in the regular season, he might miss a game or two. We don't know as far as from a repetition standpoint. So you're paying him to essentially be your number one guy, but he's not going to have number one guy reps probably until October. And let's just face it, this is a team that's not going to go anywhere.
That's the other part. What does he do for you? What does he do even if he's healthy for 14 games? Is that 2 more wins? Like on this roster?
That's the question I have. How much value is he going to add to this team?
That's what I'm saying. Like
I just don't think it was a move.
I know they have a lot of money, which I know they had more money than anybody going into the offseason. I don't know about now, but overthecap.com is obviously great for that, and they had way more money than everybody else. They had 25 million more than everyone going into free agency. So maybe they still got a bunch left, and maybe Robert Kraft is sick of people saying he doesn't spend money. But yeah, it doesn't change much to me for them. Their outlook, I don't know, doesn't change much.
Robert Kraft misses winning, and he definitely misses a quarterback that he had in Tom Brady. Are we going to ever see a Tom Brady type quarterback? You can never say never, but it's not going to be for a very long time.
And by the way, they still have the most cap space, even after that trade.
Yeah.
Still have $80 million to spend, even after that.
I mean, look, I still think Drake May is going to be he's going to be a great quarterback. Well, not great. I don't want to say that yet. But I think he is going to be a very good quarterback once when you get him some weapons. He's going to be very good. I'm a huge fan of his. Unfortunately,
he showed some promise last year for sure.
Absolutely.
We'll see. But I don't think anyone's complaining about the cheating Patriots being down for a while. But anywho, Ben, you're a Cowboys fan, so you'll be fine. But we'll come back to some football. But because for Gary, we got to get his thoughts on this. But do want to say, Juju Watkins. Talk about this for just 2 quick minutes. Went down with that horrific knee injury. Yeah. You thought hopefully it was just going to be like a knee sprain, but unfortunately she went down. It's not a career ender. It is not like, oh my God, her career is over. The way that medical enhancements have happened over the last 15, 20 years, she's 19 years old. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to see her junior year, and she's probably going to redshirt next year. And then we're probably not looking at her for another 18 months of Juju Watkins. And we were really looking forward to Paige Buchers and her in the Final Four, in the Elite Eight. But now that just ruins their title chances, in my opinion.
Or perhaps not, because we saw a couple of outstanding freshmen coming off of the bench, Jeff. And I mean, not to throw sand in the open wound of Mississippi State. I mean, they were underdogs regardless of the fact. But what I have respect for is Coach Gottlieb got this team ready. She had to rally everybody back after they saw their star player go down, and get everybody focused. And Kiki Eifrin took over that game with almost her career best of 34 points. And to evolve the rest of the young team that USC has, it was absolutely outstanding. Does it kind of hinder their chances of possibly going for possibly being in the Final Four, let alone the championship? Maybe so, because these women's teams, you got UConn, you have UCLA, you have Notre Dame. I mean, some of these teams are just South Carolina. They're on the come up, and it's going to be a difficult ride for USC without their number one voted All-American on an All-American team for women's basketball. So that is something that they're going to have to make the adjustments to. But let's not sleep on USC, because they do have a deep bench going in. They'll definitely get past their next opponent I believe, in the Sweet 16. And then that's where it's going to be really tough for them, because they don't have that big, they don't have the shooting range of a Juju Watkins, let alone that presence deep in the paint. That's where they're going to have to really make their adjustments if they want to be competitive and surprise a lot of people that right now has them at about 45% to get to the championship.
Okay. Hey, I like it. I hope. I'm a big USC fan this year. I mean, they're probably like my second favorite team, man, after South Carolina. And homegirl that made the comment about comparing a USC football game to like the BET Awards, Holly Rowe, she can go sit down. She can sit down. I don't know if she was going by that comment, but anywho.
I don't know if she was going by that either, but I kind of got what she was saying, but I think the narrative of it came out wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna give her a little bit of,
And I think that she was trying to backtrack a little bit of that, because people were like, Holly, you couldn't pick anything else. But then people were like, well, they were talking about her personal life where she's got, a biracial kid and all that. And I'm like, that has nothing to do with nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
I kind of knew what she meant, but she kind of opened her mouth and insert foot, and it just went way left.
Yeah, I don't know. But the USC basketball games, though, they do be a vibe. That's what I'm gonna say. You look at all the stars that come out. I mean, I'm like, I gotta go. I was telling my wife, like, we gotta go to a game next year.
Because everyone watches women's sports.
Hey,
thank you. I don't know if I can see my shirt, but there it is. Everybody watches women's sports, man. Come on.
Is it Women's Month? Women's Month?
Thank you for saying that, Jeff. Yes. It is Women's History Month.
Okay, so we appreciate you being on the show here today on Women's Month.
Let's go.
Yeah. There we go. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Ben, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, you guys said it pretty well. I don't have a lot to add. I will just say that, we'll get to it on the men's side, but the women's side, it's even more chalk. The 13 out of the 16 teams are 1 through 4 seeds, and the other 3 are 5 seeds. So there's not even a 6, a 7, an 8. There's nothing left. Everybody's top 5 seeds. And I said it the other day, but I hate the fact that teams have home games in the tournament. I don't understand that. I think it's outdated, and I think I really don't understand why it was even a thing to begin with. And I don't think it should exist now. I know there's still upsets. I know not all the home teams win. I get it, but I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me. I don't know. I don't like that the teams have home games in an NCAA tournament. I don't know. I don't like it.
I mean, no, I get that. I mean, I think did it make the difference with that tremendous double overtime game between
Arkansas and Maryland?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Alabama and Maryland.
Maryland, that was a game. That was, and I don't even know who that Sarah girl was that dropped the 40 burger, but that girl got some game. I'm like, she better get a contract up.
I mean, to go 3 names, and I mean, you have the right to go 3 names. Sarah Ashley Barker is her name. Shooting guard for Alabama. 45 points. You're tied for 4th most points in the tournament.
Yeah,
in the NCAA women's tournament.
Absolutely,
Literally
crazy.
carried that team on her back.
It's crazy.
I hate that they had a 17-point lead though. And as I said in a post that I put up, Brenda Freeze, the head coach of Maryland, they need to put a statue up. Gary Williams, his name is on the court. Brenda Freeze deserves a statue.
She's had more success at Maryland than Gary Williams. I mean, she had a national title in 2006. I mean, the number of times that they've been top 25 every year, consistent top 20 recruiting classes. I mean, she has been a staple and has had, I think she's had more success than Gary Williams. I think I can definitively say that. I mean, but anywho, Ben, let's get to some of this NCAA men's first 2 rounds here. And he disappeared. Okay. So.
No, I'm here. I'm here. I was just letting the dog out of the room.
So I'm
here, baby.
Okay, so can we first talk about this horrific shooting night by St. John's versus Arkansas? Because I really want to spend about 3 minutes. I didn't realize a team that was that bad at shooting. They were literally 9% from 3. Ben, please tell me you have the numbers. I know you do.
Go ahead, Ben.
We could all shoot 2 for 22. We could all do that
with our eyes shut.
Maybe not with guys running in our faces and all this, but god dang, you give us 22 threes, we're gonna make 2 of them. And that's what they did in a game. And obviously an open shot is different, but how many of those 24 shots were open? Probably at least 15. I mean, with these pick and rolls and these, driving to the hole, dishing out, a lot of the threes are open. A lot of them are. So 2 for 22. You can't win like that. And now that you brought it up, also, I'm sorry. I don't care how much of a legend you are or how much amazing coach you are. You got no justification for benching that kid. None whatsoever.
And she then got an attitude with the press about.
Yeah, you know why? No, they don't know why. That's why they asked the same question.
Biggie's player of the year.
He played 30 minutes. That's the reason. Yes, he's played 30 minutes. So you didn't pull him. No, he played 30 minutes. Godfather, what are you doing?
He already looked bad by not playing him. Then the press conference made him look worse. Especially you seem A, entitled, B, like you don't give a crap about the reporter. And C, you're trying to say you care about the kid, but then you mentioned his stats. You're trying to say you didn't want to throw him under the bus, and then you literally threw him under the bus. So, he just looks really, really bad on that. The kid's name is slipping my mind. Cruz, right?
R.J. Luis Jr.
Luis Jr. Didn't play him the last 5 minutes because he's 3 for 17, but he's the.
And he played 30 minutes. Because, he's tired.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't want to admit he's tired, I guess.
He's 19 years old. He's tired. But, he's probably the biggest reason you're the number 2 seed. You go down with what got you there. If he's not hurt, he's playing. Because you got to play him. Big East tournament player of the year, Big East player of the year, probably second team all national, second team All-American would be my guess, considering Big East player of the year. You can't bench him like that. You just can't. It's inexcusable.
But heck of a season, though. Heck of a turnaround.
Yeah.
By the Godfather. He looks like a freaking Italian mob boss, like someone else sent a hitman out to you. Just the look on his face. I mean, he goes and wins everywhere. I mean, to turn that program around, that was their first tournament appearance in 20-something years. I mean, imagine if they had some shooting.
Yeah,
could have won it all.
Exactly. So, and in that same game, I wrote down, because we were talking about takeaways, I wrote down Coach Cal exceeding expectations. I mean, first year, Arkansas, Sweet 16. I mean, Coach Cal can coach, in case anybody forgot.
I think people they do forget about that, and they forgot about how the longevity, the success that he had at Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of proving it, I feel like he's reproving himself, not that he needed to, because he doesn't even have his quote-unquote people yet. Sure, he got to recruit some people and got to transfer portal and stuff like that, but he hasn't had a full offseason of recruiting. Arkansas is not going away. They're probably going to get better because that's his track record. So, but I think, it's hard to call them a Cinderella because he's the coach, but their facts are facts at the same time. They're the only double-digit seed that's still playing. And both things can be true at the same time.
And Tigney, I think that the pressure, I just want to throw this question. I think that, okay, if you take Coach Cal's success over the 14 years that he was there and you put him in like another program like Arkansas fans would take that. But would you say that because of and then Ben, feel free to jump in, do you feel because it's Kentucky and it's a blue blood of Kentucky that they were just not satisfied with that level of success? Because you look at the first year for this new guy, I mean, yeah, they're the 3 seed, but it wasn't necessarily a dominating year in the SEC.
I think that, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because what I was going to say onto Ben's point, who said everything so brilliantly, was that if Arkansas did not get past St. John's and this coach that took over, literally big shoes to fill for someone who was there for, I don't know how many years Calipari was there with Kentucky and ran very successful years there at Kentucky, and to go and to take this team that you are leading right now, and they're in the Sweet 16. And if Arkansas didn't, trust and believe, we would be continually here, disgruntled Arkansas fans there that would compare, you had success in Kentucky, why don't you turn this team around? And it would have been never ending, I feel, as far as that. But one thing, and Ben, you can look up the numbers as far as this, and I didn't get a chance to do that, and I wish I did. I am just stunned how horrible Clemson played.
Oh, yes. Ooh,
I mean, just absolutely horrible. And how incredibly amazing McNeese State played. And I think, and I said this on another pod that I was on, I said, McNeese's bigs, if they do very well, if the shooting guards get involved, they can frustrate Clemson and take them out of their element. I did not expect them to finesse them the whole entire game, to where that Clemson all of a sudden had this comeback in them with the last 4 or 5 minutes left. And then, I believe they lost by 2. But good night. I was just stunned how well, not stunned how well McNeese State played, because let me give credit where credit is due. Just how awful and just discombobulated Clemson played. And during the regular season, they weren't known for that. And it's just this tournament, and that's where I will take the old school adage from ABC Wide World of Sports. It's the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. I did not expect this kind of.
Hey, Tigney, I'll give you some stats to back up what you're saying.
Let's go.
In the first 30 minutes of the game, they had 29 points. The whole first half, the first 10 minutes.
Their season low, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
They had 29. It has to be. They had 29 points in a game and a half. That's the whole first half and half the second half. And you got less points than minutes played.
McNeese State was up 24 points at one point. Yeah. They had a 24-point lead.
29 points in 30 minutes. Like, what? For a team that was 27-6 going into that game.
A team that beat Duke, mind you.
That part. That's what I was going to say next. This is the same team that beat Duke with Cooper Flag in there.
Yeah.
So I was surprised. I was surprised about that performance from them. Just absolutely horrible display from them. And then for some reason, every single time, that little bitty, tiny little, I don't want to call them Cinderellas anymore, because you got 3 different coaches that have been taking this program, and now they are in, bigger programs, with the recent one that was at Colorado State, and now he's the head coach, Nico Medved. Drake, every time, every time, for some reason, they find themselves to have some kind of success in this tournament, whether only they get, to the 32. I don't think Drake has ever been to the Sweet 16. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but for some reason they get the right coach at the right time, and that program just goes and surprises, and it shouldn't surprise, but they just do, so. And
I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
No, I was going to say one more thing was, the Patinos, the father and son for the first time winning in the first round. No other father and son duo has had that, as well as, in their respectable conferences, winning coach of the year. So, shout out to Rick Pitino, shout out to Richard Pitino. I know Richard Pitino wished that they could run it back against Michigan State, because I thought they had Michigan State up against the ropes. But when you let Jace Richardson and that team get red hot, and then you just all of a sudden shoot bricks and build condominiums all over the court, that's what you're going to get. Tom Izzo is majority of the time of his incredible career can get his players ready for the dance, and that's why many people are picking them to cut down the nets the first time since 2000.
Right, and so I'm just going to go down these lists here, and I want y'all to guess where you think I'm going with this. So in the Sweet 16, we got Auburn, Michigan. Auburn, Michigan, Ole Miss, Michigan State, Florida, Maryland, Texas Tech, Arkansas, Duke, Arizona, BYU, a team that's going to have the number 1 recruit next year, mind you, Alabama, Houston, Purdue, Kentucky, Tennessee. Where do you think I'm going with that?
They're all big schools.
And I think why I'm mentioning that is, I don't know if I sent you the video, but there's this gentleman who does a really good job of breaking down the how the NIL is destroying the mid-major, right? You remember that FAU team in 2022 that made it to the Final Four a couple years ago?
That was led by now Michigan coach Dusty May, yes.
Right? All those players are all at big-time universities. Their top 3 scorers are at big-time universities, right? So now I wonder, this time next year, I almost want to monitor the kids from like Drake, from New Mexico, from some of these other schools where they're able to perform, and see where they go when the transfer portal opens in April. I want to see how good NC State is, because if you remember, Will Wade, coached at LSU, that man can recruit, right? And then he had the whole situation. So NC State's going to be pretty scary in a year or two, or even now at the transfer portal.
The transfer portal is here's the thing, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to say this real quick. I saw a post that JJ Watt, NFL legend, and I know he's going to be a future Hall of Famer, said this in regards to some of these players announcing their transfer, they're hitting the transfer portal. One of them being Scottie Pippen Jr. Michigan's in the Sweet 16, but he decided he's going to hit the transfer portal. All right. But he said, he posted this on his social media. He said, at some point, the NCAA needs to drop the student first, athlete second charade. Billions of dollars, NIL, transfer portal, in parentheses, free agency, traveling cross country for midweek games. Education is not the main focus. Admit it and call it what it is. It's a business. Run it as such.
Yeah.
And I have been calling now name, image, and likeness. I changed it. It's now name, image, and loot.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
This is going to be the most insane, ridiculous amount of student athletes that are going to hit this portal. And for some of these doggone students who already hit it, especially if your team is still in the tournament.
Yeah, still in the tournament. Yeah, that's I don't like that at all.
But that's Junior.
Yeah, right. Right. But that's definitely a huge takeaway, the NIL money and what it's doing, and as far as the big schools being in it. And Stephen A kind of definitely exaggerated it, saying that if it keeps happening this way, it's going to be the death of college basketball. But that's I understand to an extent. Of course, he has a platform.
It'll be the death of college basketball if the money runs out, Ben. But we all know the money is never going to run out.
You're only going to lose the fans that tune in for the upsets, and that's not the majority of people. You could lose that 1%, and you're going to gain back another 10%. So you're not going to lose anything. there will be a small fraction of fans that if these lack of upsets happen, they will stop paying attention. But that is a very small fraction of people that pay attention. And to be honest, as long as there are upsets in the first round, I mean, there's still upsets. I mean, you're not necessarily getting, teams to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8, but as long as there are still some upsets, I mean, you can still sell the tournament as March Madness, which they obviously will continue to do. And, I just it's kind of one of those things that right now, as you all know, there's no regulation at all. None. And I originally said a while back I didn't think there needed to be, but I might be changing tune to, as far as the amount of money that's being spent and how many, I don't know. I still kind of like it because the NCAA had power for so long and the kids had none. So it's hilarious to me that it has completely flipped. So I still kind of like that aspect of it. And I also think that, how can you regulate it now? You're already too deep into it. This kid, how can you go back? I feel like it would be really hard to regulate the amount of money that schools are paying.
I don't think you regulate the money. I don't think the money's going to flow. I'm not against athletes making their money. I'm not against that. But when you have you got to find an equitable equilibrium where now, because of this junior college rule now, where you're going to have people playing at 25, 26 years old, where, you got Auburn and you got a starter who's 25 years old and who still has another year left of eligibility. I think that's absolutely terrible. But I don't know what that solution is, and we could probably go on a whole soliloquy about it. But now with the extra 2 years of eligibility that junior college players are going to have, when you're looking at a lot of these players that are going to come out of these mid-majors and be able to perform on the big bright lights of the NCAA tournament and are thus going to get poached by the Michigans or the Kansases or whatever, how many times do you see players, right? Like how many players do you see on their third or fourth school? And they're always talking about now, this player started at Alabama State. They went to, NC State. I mean, for God's sakes, Caleb Love was at North Carolina 3 years ago and played at Arizona. It's just, we don't know. Change is okay. There's nothing wrong with change, but it just has to make sense. That's all I'm saying.
I think the big thing too, and I know we're going to move on to our next, is that some of these players, these athletes, feel that once they hit the transfer portal, their big goal is not only playing time, but they want to be on the marquee. And I'm going to use an example of a very talented basketball player on the women's side, and that's Haley Van Lith. Haley Van Lith had a first 1 to 2 seasons at Louisville, and then she went to LSU. And I think we said this on the show. I said she's going to be that one where she's going to be the guest star and not the star, because you had Flau'jae Johnson, you had Angel Reese that was already established at LSU. And what happened? She didn't have the numbers. She didn't have the productivity there at LSU. It was literally a one and done. She already graduated and got her degree, but she still felt that she could prove herself in the college rankings. So she went from LSU to TCU. And what happened? TCU ended up going to the 68 tournament. And then now for the very first time in program history, they're in the Sweet 16. Why? Because she is the star.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? Like everybody, she the name, she's already she's been established. She's a winner. She's a proven winner, but she didn't want to be behind the already established stars. She wanted her name on the marquee. And I'm not saying it in a selfish way, but that's the risks many of these student athletes are doing when they hit this portal. They want to be on the marquee. They don't want to be the co-star in the smaller lights. They want to be on the main stage at Coachella, but they don't want to be the tiny little print that's down when there's already 199 artists ahead of them. and there's only going to be like 6 people out there with lawn chairs when they come to the stage. They want to be where it's packed all the way around and the energy is overflowing, and they're buying their swag and they're buying their jerseys and they're buying their hats. They're buying their posters. They're having them sign their stuff, doing selfies and all of that. I use her for an example because that's basically what she did. She was the star at Louisville. She was the co-star at LSU, and now she's a star again at TCU.
Gary, legend.
Gary.
You're live, sir.
Yes, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was saying, yeah, sorry about being on audio only, but I'm glad to see everybody. How's everyone doing?
Good, man. Sorry for not seeing that earlier, buddy. We're sorry.
It's okay. All good.
Please forgive us. We wanted to get your, and Tigney, great thoughts, by the way. But Gary, we wanted to get your thoughts on the whole lovely Giants situation. You have 2 new quarterbacks now that you can be proud of. I'm sure you're so excited. Can't you tell by my voice? Sit back. Let's sit back and show your thoughts, sir.
Like,
I've been waiting for this.
I was out getting ice cream with my children and my nephew, and I saw this come across my phone. And the first thing I said to myself was, you just signed Jameis Winston you gave him 2 years, $8 million, right? So what? When you did that, I'm sorry, I'm trying to gather my thoughts still, because I'm like, it makes no sense, because you brought Jameis in, and we all safely assumed as Giants fans that means that you're going to draft a quarterback and you're going to take Jameis Winston and be the bridge quarterback and be a good mentor, because if he's a lot of things, but Jameis Winston is apparently a good locker room person, and people want him there, and he would be good for I don't know, Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, somebody like that, the next quarterback for the franchise. But then you bring in Russell Wilson, which then says to me, you think that you have enough to possibly make the playoffs, because you don't bring in Russell Wilson at this stage. Even for him, there are other jobs I'm sure would ultimately open up that would probably be far more lucrative for him, at least as far as playoff success is concerned. This is more one of those, like, the Giants are kind of putting their eggs in that basket of, like, hey, we could possibly catch a wild card. And I'm like, who the hell are you? Who y'all trying to fool? You're not any better than you were last season. Now you've put these 2 quarterbacks in a room together, along with Tommy DeVito, and it's like, they have to draft a quarterback. They absolutely have to bring in a Shedeur Sanders or something, because if you don't, what you're telling Giants fans is that we need to just buckle in for another 2-3 years of just pure garbage, because I don't know. Like, with Jameis, it was like, okay, cool. Jameis Winston's going to throw 4 touchdowns a game, guaranteed. We don't know to which team, but he's going to do it. And those press conferences are going to be gold. The back pages of the New York Daily News and New York Post are going to be worthy of clipping and saving. Like, we know what we're about to get with him. Russell Wilson is the diet version of Jameis Winston. So I'm like, do we fine? So we have 2 of the same type here. Cool. What's our future looking like? Because right now that quarterback room is looking crazy.
And I also, as much as you need a quarterback and you should still draft a quarterback, I'm not sure Wilson is the one that I want in that room.
I'm surprised they still have Tommy Cutlets.
Wilson does not come off as someone who doesn't want the spotlight. And I don't know if he's the right person to kind of teach a young quarterback. I don't know how much time and how much, I don't know. If you say, like, what's a veteran quarterback in the NFL that you think will be good at developing and helping a young quarterback, he's not on, like, anywhere on my list.
No,
he's not anywhere. So it's like, then that also puts you backwards. Also, it feels like.
But I hate to say it though, I don't think they're going to draft Shedeur Sanders with that third pick.
I think
They
gotta do
won't.
something.
They won't.
I think they're taking Hunter if he's there.
Yeah, I you know, and the thing is like what this tells me is that they did this as an insurance policy for Jameis Winston, knowing that they're not going to draft a rookie quarterback in the first round and probably maybe go after, I don't know, like a Dart or like a Milroe or something. It's one of these type of moves where I would question my loyalty to this team.
Oh, trust me. This there are a lot of moves that they made. Some are all right this offseason, but there are others that I'm just like, you draft Jameis Winston. You signed Jameis Winston. You've now signed Russell Wilson. Like, you're building the weirdest quarterback room in the NFL, and like, you're gonna then say the future is a Jaden Milroe, or you're gonna hold out and go back to the whole belief of trying to wait for Arch Manning. And it's just like, if you're gonna do that, at least be upfront about it. I know you can't really say certain things, obviously, for competitive and tampering purposes. I get that. Like, you can't say certain things out loud. But if this is what's going to be the case, for us, like, please say so, because I'm not going to go waste my time and go drive an hour and 25 minutes to go down to MetLife Stadium and watch that if I know that there is no clear-cut plan from there. Like, be open and like the Sixers, they were open and honest. We're gonna suck for a few years. It's called the process. Now, granted, the process has not worked out for them the way that they had hoped, but at least they were open and honest and upfront about it. I can't say that about my Giants, and it's making it really hard to be a fan of them.
What's going to end up happening, I feel, is that they're going to have Brian Daboll as soon as this experiment, and I'm not trying to wish anything bad upon this team, but the way that they're setting the pieces in place before the draft of next month, this is going to put Brian Daboll in a very, very, very bad position if they do not have a plan in place to make the postseason, because he's going to be the first one to get cut.
Marisa,
and then it goes downhill from there.
I'm glad you even brought up his name, because I couldn't even remember if he was still there or not. Number one, and number two, his personality does not vibe with those two quarterbacks either.
At all.
Nothing at all. So this is just, you're not building the quarterback and the coach in the NFL are arguably the two most important things for success of a team. And having that relationship be strong is important. And the personalities of these three men couldn't be far different from each other. And like you said, Gary, and I'm glad you agreed, and I didn't mean to interrupt, but Russell Wilson is not the veteran quarterback to teach a young quarterback. He's just not. It's just not. It doesn't, from afar, and from what reports we can see and what we do hear from former teammates, he's not the one for that. He's not.
Brian Daboll's personality. I'll say this real quick. Sorry, Gary. Brian Daboll's personality reminds me so much of Sean Payton's personality. Russell Wilson and Sean Payton could not get along because Sean Payton is that one that he's going to throw you under the bus and has no shade. And I have a feeling that same exact thing is going to happen when Russell has those games that should have been clutch, that should have been easy wins, that should have been, literally a W in the column for the New York Football Giants. And it doesn't happen that way. And I just feel that is going to be where Daboll is going to lose it on primetime television at Wilson. And we're going to see a reflection of what happened and why the Denver Broncos got rid of him and why the Denver Broncos are in a great position now with Bo Nix as their future. There you go, Jeff. Happy early birthday.
Super Bowl 25, baby. We going to Super Bowl, baby. I'm telling you, Super Bowl. Anyway, I like the conversation we're going. Ben, I know we had an agenda. We're going to pivot. We're going to get to some of the other topics, but I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't bring up the other team. So, kind of funny that both quarterbacks that played for the Steelers are now both in New York. I find that to be very interesting. So we will not mention that other individual's name.
It's that Marilove, boy. That's what that is.
But where the hell do the Pittsburgh Steelers go? You just gave DK Metcalf $150 million, and congratulations to him on his engagement. If you're listening, come on the show anytime. We'd love to have you. But we'll talk about this real quick, and then we'll get to the next topic. But just 2 minutes real quick, like, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah, like what? You just pay all this money to the receiver, and you ain't got a quarterback. You know what his quarterback is right now as we are on the air, 325 of 25? The only quarterback on the Steelers roster is Mason Rudolph. That's it. That's all they got. And we've talked about it, we've joked about it, and you know, I still don't see it happening, but Rodgers in Pittsburgh is just absolutely pure comedy. Him talk about coaching quarterback not vibing. There couldn't be a worse fit coaching quarterback. And it's like, even if the Steelers don't really want Rodgers, like, what are their options? What's left? I don't know. I'm not saying Rodgers is a good. I'm not saying Rodgers is a good option because he hasn't. If we're being completely honest, he hasn't been good in like 3 years.
Talk about it.
The last time he was actually good was like 2022. It was a long time ago.
Maybe 2019. I'm gonna say 2019. Honestly.
Yeah, I'm saying good, not great.
Okay.
No, Aaron Rodgers, he's fallen off the cliff, and the only person that doesn't realize it is Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. He's not. He's cooked. Because if he was anywhere decent to good, he'd still be a Jet. I'm sorry. Like that's a fact.
You also don't even have to bring up stats. You can literally say this statement, and that's the end of the argument. Zach Wilson won more games as the Jets quarterback the year before than Rodgers just did. And Rodgers had more talent. And Rodgers had more talent in 2 seasons. And Rodgers had more talent. And Zach Wilson won more games than you.
More talent. You lost the team, and you ran the coach out of town.
Like,
I said what I said.
You're done.
No, you're right.
You know, and it's crazy because like 2 years ago. Go ahead, Gary.
No, I was gonna say, and despite all of this, Pittsburgh's still gonna end up with like 9 or 10 wins and in the playoffs. Like it's just one of those like they'll Mason Rudolph or not. They're still somehow just going to end up with like they're going to front load wins like they did this past season, end up with as a 10-7 team that probably shouldn't make the playoffs but will because again they just front loaded all their wins. We can talk about the quarterback room there all we want. We just know that that's going to be the end story because I don't know what Mike Tomlin did, but he's a wizard or some type of magician, warlock, something.
He's on the hot seat too. I mean, between him and Dayball, they're going to start the season on the hot seat. Let's call it like it is.
I mean, and I think the Steelers took me real quick. I'm sorry, Gary, but like for the Steelers, though, like just simply being like he hasn't won a playoff game since 2016, and eventually at some point, just simply having a winning record, I think several years ago is no longer like good enough. Like. I mean, it's like, you know, you had Justin Fields, you had Russell Wilson. You thought that you were going to keep one of them. You didn't keep one of them. I really think they should have kept at least Justin Fields because at least he's mobile and you can at least scheme around that a little bit. Then you let both of them go and you don't have a backup plan. To me, it's just kind of like it makes no sense. You needed one of them because you know that Aaron Rodgers ain't it. So I don't know. They're going to find themselves in a situation because this defense is only getting older. Hayward is getting older. You know, they're going to find themselves at the bottom of the league in a year or two if they don't get this right.
This is the NFL version of a hall pass. They continually this is equivalent to, for example, Ben cannot show up on time to science class, and the teacher knows he can't show up on time to science class. But he continuously just, Ben, it's all right. I know you're going to be 7 minutes late. I know you're going to be 10 minutes late. All right. I know you're going to be 15 minutes late, but at least you're still here. At least you're still, understanding the assignment. And then they'll go to, man, you're showing up late and now you're not turning in assignments. And then they'll go to, Ben, you're showing up late, not turning in assignments. And now you're not passing some of the tests. That's basically what is happening with this Steelers team when it comes to Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
It's getting ridiculous just to get by. And you can only hold on to the one championship he did win with this organization. But how long is it going to be? And you are correct. Father Time does not go backwards. There is no curious case of Benjamin Button. Cameron Hayward will be 37. That's coming up this fall. Same thing with Russell Wilson. He'll be 37 in November.
And
by the time
TJ Watt's gotten injuries the last couple of years.
TJ Watt has got injuries. I mean, you got a core roster, and those that have been on this team, correct me if I'm wrong, Cameron Hayward, this is his only team he's been on, right? The Steelers team. That's it. He hasn't been on no other team. So you got him. It's just like, God, we are like right there, but why can't we elevate and get out of neutral and move this team into drive? Why do we keep being in reverse? It's because decisions like this, where now you have the pieces you're starting to put into play, but you don't have the person to lead the team to have, a successful season.
They should have gone after Sam Darnold. That 3-year, $110 million deal.
They didn't want to pay him, Jeff. They did not want to pay him. They wanted to risk, AKA Aaron Rodgers, and probably will not get the award or the reward. Let's just call it like it is.
No, it's
they didn't want to pay him.
It's gonna flop on his face miserably if that's what happens, and it's gonna be hilarious.
They're like the walking black and yellow version of a casino. You're just taking the risk and so much of it, and it's not paying off in their favor.
But we know what's going to happen, y'all. We've all watched sports 20-something plus years. We know what's going to happen. We know how it goes in the NFL. We know this. So we'll be talking about this later in the year. We know it's going to happen. Sit back, enjoy the ride, watch the Broncos go 18-17-0, win that thing, and just watch everything else.
The end of April cannot come soon enough. This draft is going to be fun to watch.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Gary. Go ahead.
You can't even believe that yourself. 17-0. Like, if we're being responsible fans out here, I think the 17-0 might be a bit of an exaggeration. I don't think the My Giants are going to go over 17, but I don't think the My Giants are going to go 17-0 either. I think it's going to be somewhere in the 5-6 win range. That's just being responsible.
Give your Giants your 6 wins, like you said a couple of years ago. Give me them 6 wins.
Yeah, give me 4. I don't care. Give me 4 wins.
Give me 4.
Something.
Give me 4. Okay.
Give me some. Just give me something in the right direction. That's all I ask.
Like when he says,
I love the optimism.
All right, let's get to this. Let's get to our top 5 sports moments of all time. This one I'm really excited about. And who wants to go first?
I was gonna say, can I go first?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can, Benjamin.
So,
buddy.
To be clear, there's not an order, really. I just picked 5 fun ones in my mind. 2004 Red Sox.
Really?
Probably number 1 because that's my team.
Elite. Elite.
I mean, that's historic. I mean, that's 86 years.
Right there. But okay,
86 years. So there's that one. I got LeBron 2016 finals. 3-1 comeback to this home team against 73-9 Warriors. So I got that. 2005 UNC men's basketball, getting Roy Williams' first championship as coach. Tiger Woods, 1997 Masters, 12-stroke win. One of the biggest margins of margins of victory in a major tournament. But I just wrote down in all caps, like, impact. What that moment in that tournament changed for so many people, so many kids, and the amount of money that these players now make, which is, started with Tiger, let's be honest, with Tiger rising and Tiger having the success he did and the popularity and the money just kept flowing in. But none of it would have happened if he didn't have that first breakthrough. And 21 years old, still the youngest Masters tournament winner ever, and still the biggest margin of victory at the Masters. Which is funny. I was talking to my friend the other day, and I think that not even that tournament, but I think that the 2000 U.S. Open, when he won by 15 shots at the U.S. Open, is, to me, one of the best performances of any sport ever. 15 shots against the best in the world at what most would say the hardest tournament in the world, the U.S. Open. So, number 5, I went with another historic moment in the theme of March Madness, 2018 UMBC. So I had to look up exactly what it was. University of Maryland, Baltimore County. The first 16 seed to beat a 1 seed, beat Virginia, and they didn't just beat them. It wasn't like a buzzer beater or by 3 points. They beat them by 20 points. They smacked them. They won by 20 points, and they were obviously the first 16 seed to beat a 1 seed. So, yeah, and those were my 5.
And Ben, real quick, and then we can toss it to Sydney or Gary, whoever. You know, what's crazy about UMBC is, like, I grew up literally 2 minutes from UMBC. My high school, you could see the campus from on the 3rd floor. So it's just my old apartment that I lived at during that time is literally right around the corner from UMBC. I had so many summer camps at UMBC, went to so many games. And I'm like, out of all the schools to do it, literally University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Shout out to Baltimore, to UMBC, man.
See, Jeff, I hit you with the Red Sox, but I got you on that.
Hey, man, it's just crazy. It's just crazy when those things happen when it's close to your home. Like, you know, it's just UMBC. Wow. Anywho, who wants to go next? Take me. Okay.
Yes, ladies first.
Oh, well, thank you. This was hard to narrow down to just 5 because there's a plethora of amazing sports. And since I'm slightly older than you 3, I have witnessed slightly.
Give us 6 or 7.
I've witnessed in my lifetime. I mean, I got to start with the latest one, and that is the Detroit Lions turnaround the past 2 seasons. Never in my lifetime. It took us 31 years to get to a playoff win. The ridicule, the jokes, the late night jabs, the, oh my gosh, your team sucks, to deal with that year in, year out, season in, season out, and all that, and to finally have some kind of success under Dan Campbell's leadership is absolutely extraordinary. And yes, I cried grown tears when we, made it to the postseason and then turned around and won a postseason game against our former quarterback, which, plays for the Rams. So that was, epic in my eyes. And to celebrate with so many. I don't know if y'all can hear it. It's hailing outside right now, so I do apologize. It was raining, and now there's hail hitting our window.
Good. Keep it going.
So,
keep it going.
Another one is, of course, Michigan's national championship in 2023. Hello. I don't care what anybody says. No Connor Stallions was not involved. No, there was no cheat gate. Y'all can hate on Coach Harbaugh if you want to, but however, that was an undefeated season, 15-0. I will brag about it till the day. I bragged about it until, Ohio State won their national championship. So, Jeff is carrying on the banter. To stay with the NCAA, the kick 6 in 2013. I actually did not see it on the television. I was in a kitchen cooking, and heard it on the radio, the way that everybody ended up hearing that radio person. I was at an opening. Surprise, surprise. I was in Alabama when it happened. And to hear half of the restaurant that were Auburn fans cheer and half of the restaurant that were Alabama fans.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just to see night and day, that kick 6, that was absolutely amazing. On that side of history, Dawn Staley being the first African-American female coach to go 38-0 during the 23-24 season to win a back-to-back national championship for South Carolina. That was That was awesome. One of my friends brought me some confetti and a T-shirt from that actual national championship game. So I have that shadow box. It's something that I will definitely treasure. And my last one is the first championship. I got to go to game one of when the Pistons, on the way the Pistons winning their first NBA title. That was exciting. Joe Dumars, Isaiah Thomas, the Goons, Bill Lambier, Vinny, the Microwave Johnson, James Buddha Edwards. That team was something special. Dennis the Worm Rodman, John Sally. That was the squad. And for them to go and do it again in the bad boy era, that would, to be in that moment when you're seeing that great basketball before all the rules and all that, where people are throwing elbows, basically, it was like a mix of then at the WWF into NBA. You could, fake a flop, you can, take a punch to the face, all of that. That was basketball to me at its finest. But to see the Detroit Pistons witness them to win their first NBA title, that was absolutely something special. And I will tie that with when they ended up winning it years later with Rasheed Wallace and Ben Wallace and all of that. In that game, I was watching when they played the Kobe Bryant-led Lakers team and ended up beating them. Chauncey Billups, Mr. Big Shot. I literally almost fell down the steps because I ran around my apartment complex when the Pistons ended up beating the heavily favored Los Angeles Lakers that season.
That changed a lot. Yes. Shaq gone, Phil Jackson gone.
Yeah.
And if the Lakers were to have won that, they would have had 4 championships.
I mean, when I tell you how I couldn't believe that my boys pulled that off. Like I was just so stunned. And at that time, tickets were not as outrageous as they are now. But I could not get a ticket to save my life because I was only 2 hours away from then the Palace of Auburn Hills to at least see a game, and it was not happening. So, but I literally, it was hard for me to narrow it down to that few because I got a lot.
Yeah, it's tough. Gary, have at it. What's your 5?
All right, so going through my 5, I went. So again, there's no particular order here, and it kind of covers a bunch of different sport. Yeah, well, no, it's actually just 2. There's just 2, but 3. Sorry. Number 1 is basically everything from the Yankees between 1995 and 2001. They kind of resurrected baseball as far as like the post-strike team, post-strike baseball. You're bringing the fans back, and even though you either love them or you hate them, and that was part of the fun and the magic of it. Was just like, if you're in New York, you absolutely love them because they dominated in a way that hadn't been seen in probably a good 20 or 30 years to that point. And they brought in a legion of Yankee fans that kind of are still there to this day, good, bad, and otherwise. I went with Jordan's shot over Byron Russell, or the greatest offensive foul ever, whichever one you want to call it. Yeah, so I went with that shot because it was just like, had he not gotten greedy with the whole Washington Wizards thing, like that was the way to go out.
Yeah,
you had the largest audience ever to watch a basketball game in prime time, 18.7 million to watch that one game. And that was a send off. Like that was the end of that particular era. So for me, I think that was huge. I went with the Giants upset of the Patriots in 2007. Being in Rhode Island at that time and just being in the minority as far as Giants fans, going in, I will never forget how silent Providence was after that game was over.
Yes.
Renaissance Hall was a ghost town. You only heard about 4 or 5 people cheering and screaming loudly I was one of them, and the other ones were all from the New York area. Like we were just,
Yeah.
it
And
was just
even as a Cowboys fan, I hate the Patriots more.
yeah, like it.
I got no issue. And it sounds crazy because everyone's like, "Oh, you're a Cowboys fan. Why would you root for your division?" I hate the Patriots more. What do you want from
There's
me?
a reason,
I hate
yeah.
them more.
But
So,
yeah, just the very idea that we stopped the perfect season, like that
Yep.
was huge for us. I went going last year baseball, so I went with the '98 home run chase. I think
Yep.
alongside the Yankees being, being such a dominant team, that back and forth with Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, and for a period of time, Ken Griffey Jr. was included in that chase. Like they helped, they got the fans back, even if two out of those three names that I mentioned were juicing half the time. Still, like
Those were the days.
They still got the
listen,
eyeballs. They still got the attention. Still
I
got
know
the
I'm like
money.
I know steroids are bad. I'm saying out loud, steroids are bad. Athletes don't use them. But also in the '90s, nobody gave a damn. It was not just chicks, but everybody loved to dig the long ball. Like that was just it. So
Yep.
that was huge. And then the last one was the Cubs winning the World Series in 2016.
Yep.
I looked at that as one of those things that I never thought I would see in my lifetime. Like it is up there with the election of Barack Obama for me. Like it's just one of those like I thought someday it would happen, but not that quickly or not that early in my lifetime that I thought that those things would happen. And whenever the Lions win the Super Bowl, like it'll be on that list too. It's just one of those things that like you when you see it, it's one of you got to remember where you were
Hmm.
when Obama was elected. I was standing in the middle of Edmond Hall in East Providence when the Cubs won the World Series. I was in a shop right in New Rochelle, New York, going to go pick up some juice for my son's school birthday party the next day, school birthday party. Like I was standing in the middle of the aisle watching the final out. Like there's one of those. That's just it's one of those things there where you really go, where were you when? So
Yeah. You'll
yeah,
never
for me
forget
that
it. Yep.
yeah, those are one of those that was an unforgettable moment. So that's my 5 there.
No, and that's what I love about sports. It's those moments. Where were you when, right? And
Right.
it's like, I'll remember. It's like, where were you when Ohio State smacks Michigan next year? Like, where were you? Where were you? I'm sorry, Tigney. I just got to keep roasting because you brought up that national title. Nah, shots fired. Second round, respectfully, of course.
And he can't help himself. It's all
I
good.
can't help it. Don't worry.
Can't help it.
Don't worry.
Can't
Hey,
help
look, you're still cool, Tigney. I'm telling you that Crown
Oh
is
my
coming.
gosh.
I'm
Go
gonna
put on a sweater
I'm
vest and sell sell some
sorry, listen.
memorabilia for tattoos. Be quiet.
Man, so there are a lot of things of where were you when, and I think for me the first
Ah,
one is 2010, Game 7 of the NBA Finals between the Boston Celtics and LA Lakers.
Yep.
I was at a bar in West Springfield doing an internship at Six Flags randomly. I know, right? Watching that game, and just the finish of that game was just absolutely phenomenal. I'm glad the Lakers pulled that off. I'm going to go 2016, the Cubs winning the World Series, but then I think was even greater was when they came out and Anthony Rizzo was holding the trophy up, and you could see the level of excitement with the fans. And I think hearing about all of the diehard Cubs fans that had like older people that were like their grandparents like died like within 48 hours of like that championship, and it's like, okay, finally I can rest now. Like, it's those moments why I love sports so much and why it is just such a you root for certain teams, right? And that's that's like a really cool thing.
and that game went so late too.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
it did. When
And the Cubs did right by Bartman after that too.
They did.
They did right by Steve Bartman
did.
after that.
And I like the fact that after they won that literally they were panning the audience and everybody was singing "Go Cubs Go," and the actor Bill Murray was literally sobbing. That was a moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's Chicago's, I think, one of the top 5 great sports cities. Honestly, I mean, it's a great sport town. It's one of my favorite cities. I'm gonna go for this one a little more sentimental for me. It's 2014 ALCS between the Orioles versus the Royals. I say that one because just growing up in Baltimore, I had never seen Camden Yards so packed with orange and black, and it was and it was raining, and it was one of the greatest experiences that I had ever been able to witness. It's one of those that I will remember forever. Unfortunately, they lost because Britain couldn't throw strikes and kept them walking to everybody, but whatever. Still, to be able to see, it just couldn't throw strikes. I'm like, dog, just hit it in the strike zone, but whatever. It was still a great experience. I mean, it's just one of those things that just as a, in my, early 20s, I'm going to go 2001 Yankees first home game after 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
I think when, again, we're not getting political here, but when the president came out and, and Gary, I mean, you grew up in New York, so obviously, like this one's going to hit, I'm sure hit home a little, like that moment.
Yeah.
Like that's just one where it's, go ahead, Gary.
I'm not going to be political, but it's a shame how he tarnished his legacy. But that moment of, where people rallied behind Rudy Giuliani, and then of course, and I know you're talking about the first game back with the Mets and Yankees, but I'm also gonna, that whole season, that whole playoff run, yeah, like it started from that moment, and that momentum carried them to the World Series. Now, I do believe, they should have won that game, but Mariano was only human.
Yeah, it's one of those. And then, I mean, this was a toss-up, but how could I not go the 2016 Super Bowl with the greatest linebacker of all time, going after that ball against Cam Newton? That solidified, in my opinion, Von Miller being one of the greatest linebacker, one of the top 5 best all-time gritty defensive players of all time. And it skyrocketed my respect for Von Miller even more. The legend of Von Miller lived on, and it's one of those things that we will never, ever forget.
We might try to, but you won't let us.
No, I'm never going to.
Oh my God! Just say it for him one time. All hail Von Miller.
Von Miller. That's all we got to do.
Come on the show, Von. Let us know what your
Von
next
Miller.
plans are. What team you're going to be on? Come on, you're welcome to DTS anytime.
Yes, Von Miller. I'm going to tweet him. We're gonna make this happen. Dang it! But yeah, those are the top. So let's kind of wrap this up with some NBA storylines. Like just Gary, heavy side. Anyway, the level of disrespect, Gary. The level of disrespect. We got like 10 minutes. Let's just look at some of these. Let's do what I want to do is I want to do a Dallas check. Tigney, what are you seeing on the streets of Dallas right now with everything?
AD's back. Everything's great.
Well, about that, as they just lost tonight to the Knicks.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, I'm like, AD ain't play tonight.
Yeah, AD didn't play tonight. PJ Washington's still dealing with nagging injuries. Listen, gentlemen, the fallout just continues to fall out, and it's going to fall out for the rest of the season. If they get a toe into the play-in, it will be something spectacular. I'm still upset to the audacity of my Detroit Pistons somehow laying a doggone egg here. I cannot believe that they lost to the Mavericks after Cade put down 34 points, but that's neither nor there. This team is still reeling. They're going to reel the rest of the season. I mean, that Luka trade it stings. This is a sting where it's going to be literally where you're going to need to have some kind of medication to take the soreness away. And it doesn't matter what you're going to do in any kind of shape or form to make the pain go away. It's still going to be there because this city, the city of Dallas, they loved Luka Doncic, and just in the next couple of weeks they come here the Lakers come here. And I'm looking forward to going to that game. I somehow am. I'm going to be going to that game, and I can tell y'all firsthand how it's going to be. Yeah, they're going to have their little tribute video to him and thank him for everything that's going to be. But what's going to be interesting to me is how Dallas is going to play, how the Mavs is going to play, the awkward interaction between Luka and his past employers, and how many of the true fans are going to walk in, even though that the rule has been set for them that they can't wear Luka Mavs jerseys. How many of them are not going to listen to that rule and run around being Fire Nico? So we'll see how it goes. I'll let y'all know, especially that night, how it's going to be. But this city is not letting that go. I don't know how long they're going to carry that in until they have a legit good team, a great healthy team, a healthy AD, where it is that he's playing one game and out 3. Because what has it been? You're great with numbers. He missed like 16 games, and then he played this one, and then he was out today. So
Well,
missed 18.
He's played 2 games since the trade. 2. The trade was in February. We're almost in April. He's played in 2 games.
I wouldn't even call the one game he played a full game because he got hurt in the third quarter.
Yeah, but he still played 75% of the game.
Listen, you play a full game when you play all 4, and the money that they gave you, and you are a starter. You're playing all 4 quarters.
I'm being sarcastic, girl. I'm being sarcastic. I'm being a wise ass. I know. No, he's so it's. I mean, it has the potential to have effects for a long.
It will.
It's a franchise.
I'm not talking about 86-year.
It's literally like I hate comparing it to like a family member that passes, but that's basically what this is.
Yeah, it's going to have impact for many, many years to come.
Mm-hmm.
It is. So, I feel like we got to talk about these Lakers a little bit because they're kind of skidding. Are we concerned? Are we not concerned?
I mean, you lost to the Magic the other night. Like
Magic are good. Like that's a good team. Like Franz Wagner.
They're a playoff team.
They are a playoff team. I'll give them that.
That's like Franz Wagner and Banchero are 2 studs. I mean, I'm not.
And you got Pablo Banchero that's back too. So
yeah.
Gary, we'll throw it to you, and then we'll get to some storylines here. But 30 seconds. Are we feeling it? We're not feeling it? Lakers, I mean, like, what's going on?
I think the LeBron injury derailed all that momentum that they had in the post-Luka trade. I think that they will be okay ultimately. I think, they'll still be in that, like, 3-4 range as far as, like, seeding goes. I'm not necessarily worried. I just think, we're at the point, especially with LeBron, like, an injury is going to happen sooner rather than later. Like, it's kind of one of those things at this point that you're going to have to mitigate it. You're going to have to figure out, like, how to work around it. And at least now you have somebody in Luka who's a walking triple-double waiting to happen. And, in theory, should be able to pick up the slack. So I'm not necessarily worried about the stretch that they've, found themselves in as of late. I think, the injury to LeBron kind of threw things off, and it's going to take a few games for them to find that rhythm again. But I do think that they'll be fine ultimately.
Very well said. Ben, give us like 1 or 2 storylines. We'll talk about that for like 3 minutes, and you get loud so we can wrap up.
So, honestly, I didn't spend a ton of time on this one because I just literally wrote down Lakers and the Warriors seeding. And to me, that's kind of 2 of the most important storylines for the rest of the season. Seeding, the top 2 seeds in both conferences are pretty much set, although the East, I guess, could flip-flop between Knicks and I'm not quite sure how close it is. But for me, Steph Curry is an icon. LeBron's an icon. To me, the 2 biggest stories for the rest of the season are where do the Lakers end up and where do the Warriors end up. And as far as the Lakers go, they need to be healthy. And I'm not saying they want to go into they still got some time left. So if they go into the postseason, even if healthy, losing, something like 7 out of 10 games, yeah, that's going to be a problem.
Mhm.
But even if they go, let's say 5-5 the rest of the way, I wouldn't be too concerned. I never thought, I think like all of us never thought that they were going to win a championship this year. So, for me, it's just like get into the playoffs healthy. How many games can we name that LeBron and Luka have won in the playoffs on the road? And arguably Luka plays better on the road. So really seeding and winning road games in the playoffs is absolutely nothing to LeBron and Luka. So even if they end up with the 4 or the 5 seed and they're probably playing OKC in round 2, it's like, well, you're gonna have, if you're gonna make the finals, which you're probably not going to, but if you're gonna make the finals, you're gonna have to beat OKC. So you got to play them in round 2 compared to the conference finals. Still got to beat them. So I don't even think that. I mean, obviously they would rather not be the 4 or the 5, but if that ends up being the case, like OKC is going to be there in the end. So if you got to play them early, you got to play them earlier than you want to, earlier than the Western Conference Finals. But I think, yeah, the Warriors hopefully, staying out of the play-in, and then where the Lakers end up. But I'm not too concerned about the Lakers, not yet. They got, just looking at it, 43-28, so that's 71 games. So they got 11 games left. So let's see how those games go before we make any large conclusions. But I was never of the mindset, even as they were playing extremely well, better than any of us thought after the Luka trade, that they were going to make the finals. I never got to that point. So
any final thoughts on those guys before Ben gets on and we'll conclude here, Tigney?
well, my loud is on the
good.
NBA.
I'm ready. I'm ready for Ben's Get Loud.
Go for it.
So we got these teams, man, that think that trading for a superstar works. A lot of times it doesn't. And I could have had this list much longer than it is, but I was time constrained, so it's not as long as it could be. But we got some very recent examples of superstars changing teams and it flopping miserably. I'm going to start with Paul. I'm going to start not historically, but I'll go back. The furthest example that I have is Kyrie Irving to the Celtics. That was horrible for both teams. Horrible for the Cavs, horrible for the Celtics. Celtics made it to the conference finals without Kyrie in the playoffs. When Kyrie played, they lost in the second round. It was bad for the Celtics, bad for the Cavs. More recently, Paul George and Kawhi to the Clippers. Kawhi was a free agent, so Paul George is the trade. The Thunder got the clearly MVP this year, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right? And they got 3 protected first-round picks and 4 unprotected first-round picks. So to me, protected, unprotected, ultimately that's 7 first-round picks. They're getting those picks at some point. So it doesn't matter when. They technically got 7 first-round picks for Paul George. Pretty much. Like protected, unprotected doesn't really matter to me. They're still getting 7 first-round picks. And we know Paul George and Kawhi, that never happened. I'm still mad and probably will be that we never saw one last prime LeBron, prime Kawhi matchup in the playoffs. So that just kind of sucks. We wanted to see that one last time. We never did. So Paul George and Kawhi to the Clippers, that didn't work. Let's go to the Suns because they're on this list twice, as you guys can imagine. The Kevin Durant trade. They got KD and wonderful TJ Warren, right? They gave up Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, 4 first-round picks, and 2 second-round picks. And they had just made it really far with Bridges and Cam Johnson. I think they had made the finals either the year prior or the year before that with those 2 guys. So you trade all that all those picks, Bridges, Cam Johnson, young players, under 25 players, both of them under 25 years old, get Kevin Durant. Okay, that doesn't really work. You get swept. You lose embarrassingly against Luka in Game 7. Luka they're up by 30 at halftime. So how do you rebound from that? All right, let's go get another one. So we got KD. Let's do another trade. So you trade away Chris Paul and Landry Shamet, and you get Bradley Beal for 6 second-round picks and 4 first-round pick swaps. So, okay, no matter when those pick swaps happen, that's 4 picks. So that's 10 draft picks that the Wizards got from that trade. And I know there were 2 or 3 teams involved, so the 10 picks weren't all from the Suns, but still. So you get Bradley Beal. Now you lost a ton of depth, and you got KD, you got Booker, and you got Bradley Beal. And with all the Mavericks injuries, I think they're still the Suns have finally passed them for the 10 seed, as they are a half game ahead of the Mavericks as the 10 seed right now, with Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker, who have, for the most part, mostly been healthy. When I say that, there's 3 stars. Most of the games, they've had 2 of them available, the majority of them. And Kevin Durant, even as he's gotten injured recently, he's been mostly healthy as well. So that didn't work. Like, you can't keep blowing up your teams to get to, like, thinking that there's a quick fix. The only time in the last probably 10 years that this has worked was the Lakers getting AD. That's it. And that's one example of the last 10 years, probably further back than that. Guys, you need to stop trying it, especially when you're blowing up young teams. Like the Suns, you gave up a lot of young talent in that KD trade, a lot. And let alone the draft picks that you gave up in both trades. And the Clippers' perspective, Kawhi George, combine the names. Kawhi Leonard held you hostage and said I wasn't coming unless you got Paul George. Okay, well, you could say, well, we weren't getting Kawhi without George. Yeah, true, but that didn't work. And who's to say you had to give in to Kawhi? Would Kawhi have definitely not signed if you gave him, the most amount of money? Or would he probably have still signed with you guys? Probably still would have signed. And you didn't have to give him Paul George. You could have got him something else, and he probably would have been satisfied. There's so many examples in the NBA specifically of teams trading for stars and it not working. The Lakers is literally, with Anthony Davis, the last time it worked. And by worked, I mean championship. That's it. That's the example.
I mean, very, very excellent rant. I think we know. One instance, guys, can't be mad at a team for wanting to, for wanting to go after it, but sometimes it's not going to work out. I can tell you, Phoenix, man, they blew a really good opportunity to be a contender for a very long time.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, anywho, guys, that's it. Great rant, Gary, legend. Congrats again on your accomplishment.
Let's go, Gary.
Yes. Yes. I won't say it out loud for online. I will keep that discreet if you want to say it, but no pressure.
No, discretion is key right now, but thank you.
There we go. So 150 episodes, guys. Really appreciate y'all. Until next time, we'll be back at it again in 2 weeks. Get into some NFL drafts, see what that looks like. And on the road for the Denver Broncos to go 17-0. Okay, guys. Until next time.
You can't.
Again with the heavy sigh.
You can't. I can't. I'm out of here, y'all.
All right, guys. Peace and love, y'all.
Peace.